What would you say if a cop walked up to your window tonight and said, "I smell it"? If your next words are wrong, you can hand the officer a search, more questions, and maybe a case. One nervous sentence from you can turn a warning into a very bad night. Hit subscribe right now because what I'm about to show you could keep you from talking yourself into handcuffs. Tap like too because under stress your brain goes blank and you'll want this burned into your memory. When an officer says, "I smell it," your heart jumps fast. You start thinking the stop is already over. You think arguing will fix it. You think explaining will save you. That is exactly where people mess this up. In this video, you're going to learn the 5 words that matter most in that moment. You're going to learn the sentence that stops you from giving consent by accident. You're going to learn what to say when the officer keeps pushing questions. And you're going to learn why the courts care so much about clear words, not vague hints. Let me show you exactly how to stay calm, protect yourself, and avoid feeding the stop with your own mouth. If you ever drive at night, ride with friends, or get stopped in a state with changing weed laws, this matters to you more than you think. Listen closely, because this is critical. Here's why this moment gets dangerous so fast. The words "I smell it" do 2 things at once. First, they put you on defense. Second, they make you want to explain. That's the trap. The officer may mean weed, the officer may mean alcohol, the officer may mean smoke, the officer may mean nothing at all except pressure. And once you start talking, you start giving away details. You say it's not mine. You say your friend smoked earlier. You say you were just at a party. You say you forgot your jacket smells like it. Every one of those answers can hurt you. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and this is where normal people lose control of the stop. Most people have no idea that the officer may already have enough to search, or maybe trying to get you to help build more reason. Your job is not to win an argument on the roadside. Your job is to stop making things worse. So let's start with the 5 words from the title because this is the line you need first. Here's exactly what you say. "I do not consent, officer," word for word, 5 words. Memorize that line. If the officer says, "I smell marijuana," or "I smell alcohol," or "I smell something in this car," your first move is not a long speech. Your first move is not panic. Your first move is not denial. Your first move is that 5-word line. "I do not consent, officer." Why does that matter so much? Because smell claims often lead straight into a search request or a search attempt. If you start blurting things out, you make the stop easier for them. If you say yes to a search, even worse, your line shuts the door on consent right away. It does not stop the officer from doing everything. Let's be real about that. In many places, police may still search if they claim they already have legal cause. Weed laws also change from state to state, and smell rules are not the same everywhere anymore. But that is exactly why your 5 words matter. You are making one thing clear for the record. You are not giving permission. Bad way. Most drivers say, "It's not mine, but you can look." Then the officer gets your consent and your own words. Good way. Smart drivers say, "I do not consent, officer." Then the officer has to rely on something other than your permission. Here's the reality. A lot of people think refusing consent makes them look guilty. No, refusing consent makes you careful. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it keeps your side clean. If the search happens anyway, your refusal still matters later. It can matter a lot. If the officer had real legal grounds, the search may happen. If the officer did not, your refusal helps your lawyer challenge it. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings about consent searches. In Schneckloth vs. Bustamonte, the court dealt with consent and basically said if you give permission voluntarily, that search becomes much easier for the government to defend. Plain English. If you say yes, you help them. If you say no, you keep your rights alive. That is why your first 5 words are so powerful. Not because they are magic, because they stop you from surrendering something valuable by accident. And notice what that line does to you emotionally. It gives you something simple to say when your mind is racing. That matters. Under stress, people ramble. Under stress, people try too hard. Under stress, people think honesty means oversharing. Your 5 words keep you short, calm, and repeatable. That is gold in a traffic stop. Think you could stay this calm during a real stop? Let me know in the comments, because saying less is way harder than people think. Now let's go to the second tactic, because refusing consent is only half the battle. The next danger is talking too much after the officer says they smell something. Once that line is out there, questions start flying. Where are you coming from? Who else was in the car? Have you been smoking? Is there anything illegal in here? Have you got anything on you? That is when you need your next sentence. Here's exactly what you say. "I am invoking my right to remain silent." Say it slowly. Say it clearly. Then stop talking. Here's the reality. Silence by itself is not always enough. A lot of people think if they just stare ahead and say nothing, that protects them. Sometimes it does not. Sometimes they stay quiet for 10 seconds and then break. Sometimes they mumble, "I don't know if I should say anything." That is weak. That is unclear, and unclear can hurt you. In Berghuis v. Thompkins, the Supreme Court said a person has to clearly invoke the right to remain silent, plain English. If you want that protection, you need to say it clearly. Hints are not enough. Bad way. Most drivers say, I swear I only had one hit 2 hours ago. Then they hand the officer a statement that can be used against them. Good way. Smart drivers say, I am invoking my right to remain silent. Then they stop becoming the easiest source of evidence. Watch what happens when you use that line. The whole stop changes. The officer may still keep working. The officer may still ask again. But now your words are off the table if you stay disciplined. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection once the stop becomes investigative. Your mouth is often the biggest thing hurting you, not helping you. And let's be honest, you may be innocent and still talk yourself into trouble. You may forget times, you may mix up places. You may try to joke, you may sound scared because you are scared. That is normal, but normal fear can still look bad on body cam. Former police officers have confirmed this works because clear silence cuts off one of the main ways officers build a bigger case during a small stop. This also protects you from the pressure game. Officers may say, if you didn't do anything, just talk to me. They may say, only guilty people, stay quiet. They may say, I'm trying to help you. Do not argue with those lines. Do not answer them. Just repeat yours. I am invoking my right to remain silent. Then stop. Let me show you exactly why this matters so much. When you explain, you give officers facts, guesses, and emotions to work with. When you invoke silence, they lose that free material. That does not mean the stop ends on the spot. It means you stop making it easier for them. That is a huge win. Now, the third tactic is the one people forget until it is too late. If the officer keeps pushing, or if the stop is clearly turning serious, or if you're being arrested, you say this: I want a lawyer. 4 words, short and sharp. Not maybe I need one. Not should I get one. Not can I call my cousin. You say, I want a lawyer. This matters because once stress goes up, your judgment goes down, you are tired, you are scared, you are guessing. The officer is trained, you are not. So stop trying to fight that alone. Miranda v. Arizona gave you the right to have a lawyer during custodial questioning. Plain English, when the situation gets serious enough, you do not have to keep answering by yourself. You can ask for real help. Bad way, most drivers say, do you think I need a lawyer? Then the officer keeps control and keeps the questions coming. Good way. Smart drivers say, I want a lawyer. Then they stop trying to outtalk a trained investigator. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings too. Courts care about clear requests, not fuzzy ones. If you sound unsure, police may keep going. If you are clear, your position is much stronger later. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it shows you did not waive your rights by chatting after the danger got real. You also need to understand what this line is not. It is not disrespect. It is not an insult. It is not a trick. It is protection. This is 100% legal. You are allowed to want help before you answer serious questions. You are allowed to stop digging when the ground is getting soft under your feet. And yes, you can stack this line with the last one. I am invoking my right to remain silent. I want a lawyer. That is strong. That is clear. That is easy to remember. If the officer changes tactics and starts acting friendly again, do not fall for it. Friendly questions can still be evidence questions. Stay with your line. Watch what happens when you ask for a lawyer calmly. The stop may feel colder. The officer may look annoyed. Good. Let the mood change. Your job is not to keep the officer happy. Your job is to protect yourself from making a bad night worse. If you spend your energy trying to seem nice, you may talk. If you spend your energy being clear, you protect yourself. If you've made it this far, you're serious about protecting your rights. Show me by hitting that like button, because the next tactic is where people blow the whole thing by trying to debate smell on the roadside. Now let's talk about the mistake that destroys everything. Arguing about the smell itself. When an officer says, I smell weed, your brain wants to fire back. No, you don't. That's impossible. It's just CBD. My friend smoked hours ago. That smell is from my clothes. My car came from the shop. Do not do that. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. You do not have to win the smell debate on the roadside. You just have to stop feeding it. Here's exactly what you say. I'm not answering questions. Short, calm, repeatable. You already refused consent. You already invoked silence if needed. This line helps when the officer keeps circling back with little bait questions to get you talking again. I'm not answering questions. Why is this so important? Because smell is often a doorway, not the end of the stop. Once the officer says it, every question after that is designed to make the doorway wider. If you answer, you may give a timeline, you may give ownership, you may give location, you may give the officer words that sound like admission, even if you did not mean them that way. Bad way. Most drivers say, okay, yeah, somebody smoked earlier, but not me. Then the officer gets a fresh statement tying your car to the smell. Good way. Smart drivers say, I'm not answering questions. Then the officer gets less to build on from your own mouth. There is legal logic behind this too. Probable cause means more than a hunch. In plain English, it means facts that would make a reasonable person think evidence of a crime may be there. If an officer says smell gives that cause, arguing won't fix it on the roadside. What helps you is not adding more facts for them. That is why staying quiet matters so much. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings on probable cause, consent, and silence. Not every state treats marijuana odor the same anymore. In some places, odor alone may not carry the same weight it used to. In others, it still can. But none of that changes your best roadside move. Do not debate, do not explain, do not guess. Save the legal fight for later, when you are calm and have help. That is also why Rodriguez v. United States matters here. That case said police cannot drag out a stop longer than needed without more legal reason, plain English. They do not get endless time just because they want more. But if you keep talking, changing stories, and arguing, you help stretch the stop yourself. Your silence protects your time as much as your words. Now put the whole legal picture together. Schneckloth v. Bustamonte tells you why refusing consent matters. If you give permission, you make the search easier to defend. Berghuis v. Thompkins tells you why clear silence matters. If you want the protection, you need to say it clearly. Miranda v. Arizona tells you why asking for a lawyer matters once questioning gets serious. You do not have to fight alone. And Rodriguez v. United States tells you why short answers matter during traffic stops. Police cannot just turn a quick stop into a fishing trip without more reason. Plain English, all these cases push in the same direction. Be clear, be calm, be short. Do not help build the case against yourself. So let's walk through a real scene. You get pulled over at night, the officer takes your license, walks back, then returns. He leans down and says, "I smell marijuana coming from this car." Right there, your chest tightens. Your brain wants to run in 5 directions at once.
Wrong way first. You blurt out, "It's not mine. My friend was in here earlier." The officer hears a link between the smell and your car. Then he asks if there is anything inside. You say, "No, you can check." Now he has your consent too. Then he asks how long ago your friend smoked. You answer because you're already talking. Now the stop is bigger, longer, and worse. Your own words became bricks in the wall around you. Now the right way. The officer says, "I smell marijuana coming from this car." You stay calm. You say, "I do not consent, officer." If he keeps asking questions, you say, "I am invoking my right to remain silent." If he pushes harder or the stop turns serious, you say, "I want a lawyer." If he keeps trying little side questions, you say, "I'm not answering questions." No speeches, no attitude. No sudden moves, just clear words.
That version feels less satisfying in the moment. You do not get to tell your story. You do not get to argue your case. But here is the truth. Roadside is the worst place to try to win. You are stressed. The officer is collecting. The camera is rolling. The goal is not to feel heard. The goal is to avoid making things worse. And one more thing matters here. You never physically resist. If the officer says step out, you step out. If the officer searches anyway, you do not block it. If you are detained, you do not pull away. Your words protect you. Your body stays calm. This is 100% legal. Quiet, clear, and non-violent is the safest lane for you. In 3 days, I'm dropping the drug dog alert video. Hit subscribe right now or you'll miss the most important tactic of all, because that next move is where a lot of drivers panic and give away even more. So lock these lines into your head now. First, when you hear "I smell it," your next 5 words are "I do not consent, officer." That keeps your permission off the table. Second, if questions keep coming, say "I am invoking my right to remain silent." That stops you from becoming your own evidence. Third, if things turn serious, say "I want a lawyer." That brings real protection into the picture. Fourth, if the officer keeps baiting you into talking, say "I'm not answering questions." That keeps you from arguing a case on the side of the road. Let me show you exactly what all of this adds up to. You do not need to be loud. You do not need to be clever. You need to be calm, clear, and consistent. Hit subscribe so you catch the drug dog video next. Smash that like button if this just saved you from a future mistake. And drop a comment telling me which line you'd trust yourself to say under pressure. Stay safe out there.